It's Tuesday, July 22nd. I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, Mega Man. Let's do this. Seeing as Tribes 2 is indisputably the greatest FPS of all time, but the game died, best game until they fucked it up. We've been trying to get a game on, but it's not that easy considering that all the official servers are down and it's a big, the technology is old and you got to get a copy of the game and the keys and the patches and it's a big mess. It's, even though it's the best game ever, it's very hard to get it working. So in my desire to play some FPS action, I resorted to playing the second best FPS ever, Natural Selection. And
hot damn.
Playing the second best FPS ever, which is actually very easy to play because there's plenty of servers and plenty of people playing all the time, and it just works. It's a Half-Life 1 mod. It just works, and it's free, and everyone has Half-Life 1. Everyone has Steam. It's easy to... So playing NS, the second best game, FPS game, but it's easy to play, is better than struggling to play an inadequate game of Tribes 2. I mean... If I could get a real game of Tribes 2 on, NS would be ignored. But seeing as that is very difficult and NS is very easy, NS got played.
See, as much as I love NS, I kind of forgot about it because once I had Tribes installed, I realized that playing Tribes alone with like 18 bots is more fun than playing pretty much any other FPS with people.
It's not more fun than NS.
Well, the thing is, NS, only if you can get a good game on, and there's like, 2 servers? So if they're both full, what are you going to do?
I've had no trouble, actually. I've had a little bit of trouble getting into them, but I just sort of refresh a little bit, and I wait for someone to drop out, and I get right in, and then I stay in, and it's good. Anyway, but in my playing NS, I didn't get anything else done. I just played a whole bunch of NS.
See, I didn't play so much NS because I knew better. I knew that would happen.
Yeah, you played Civ 4 instead.
Yeah, but I played Civ 4 on the train.
Uh-huh.
I've only played Civ 4 at home once in recent memory, and that was when I was playing online with the rest of the crew.
It doesn't matter. I am a man in a desert, and NS is like an oasis, and it was quite refreshing. And the last game I played on Sunday night was like one of the best games of NS I ever played. We're on the Tanith map, and you're in where the Marine base room has the 2 doors and the 2 walls, and there's the resource tower between them, and everyone stands up on that computer console, and the aliens come in, and they're bile bombing the RT, and you can't get out, and you just make this crazy last stand every time because it's so great. But see, we played that, and we were at the last stand in the Marine base, and I was like, oh man, this is the end, just like always. And it gave that classic feeling of, this is how it always goes. This is how it should be. But one key difference was that we actually had one of the hives locked down. It was pretty much the base and one hive. But that hive was locked down with sieges and turrets and everything. So what actually ended up happening is because of our phase gates, because of our excellent commander, and because of people actually listening to the commander, he slowly gave out weapons as we built up the resources from our 2 resource towers. And he said, if you have a weapon, don't go anywhere. And most people actually didn't go anywhere. They just stayed in the base, and they stayed in the hive, and we defended from the aliens.
That's crazy. No one ever follows orders. Good
I
God.
know. We stayed, and we defended from the aliens, just constantly rushing and bile bombing for a good, must have been like 5 to 10 minutes. And what actually happened was, even though we had so few resource towers, and the aliens had so many, because we actually killed Onoses, that you kill an Onos, that's 75 res. It takes a few minutes for that to build back up. So after we were able to actually drain them of resources, but meanwhile, we didn't have that many or a good rate of resource increase, but we had saved up. So we actually had more power than they did. We had jetpacks and HMGs and grenade launchers.
See, it definitely sounds like it was a case of very organized and resilient Marines coupled with good commander and mediocre aliens.
Well, the aliens were good, but they didn't have the resolve that the Marines had. And slowly but surely, we dominated the entire map, and it took a good 15 to 20 minutes to conquer back everything. I think the entire game was over a half hour, but that wasn't just water refreshing the parched man in the desert. That was something more. I guess there's nothing more refreshing than water.
See,
water.
We're still working toward having a tribe server that we can all play on in the front row crew, and we'll teach you guys about what FPSs used to be like. But in the meantime, it's much more likely that we can all just play NS together. I think we tried once before.
We tried once to teach NS, right? So we actually got like 6 listeners and us on a server somewhere.
However,
but it was a public server.
We didn't. Well, we were gonna make our own server, but our computers sucked. We didn't have a public IP, and we just gave up right away and just decided to pick some empty server. And there must be a lot of people who go to play NS and just watch for a server that isn't full because,
well, isn't empty.
Well, isn't full or empty.
Yeah.
Look for a server with people that isn't full.
That's not bots.
Yeah.
So as soon as people saw that our
bots.
server had like 7 non-bots on it, they all came rushing in.
The best
and suddenly
thing, this
a game
one dude
broke out.
was on my team. I'm in the aliens, and we're just kind of playing. And this guy in the voice chat just starts saying, "What the fuck? Everyone sucks. Why won't anyone build anything? Why don't we have any RTs? How haven't the Marines won yet?" I'm like, the Marines suck too. He's like, what's going on?
That's what we get for trying to do a private learning tutorial game on a public server. But
we're just going to have to run our own server. I imagine we want to make all the listeners be Marines. And
yes, you got to teach one side at a time.
Yeah, so you start coaching them, and then I'm an alien. I walk in, I'm like, and you're like, this is a skulk, and I walk in as a skulk. Observe the skulk. Observe what it does to Hungry Joe over there.
And they do the same thing when everyone's the aliens. A Marine walks in. You go, "This is a Marine." But anyway, yeah, I think that problem was we gave whoever was playing that game a bad impression was because they suck so much, but the other, people came in and were actually trying to play a game. They had to actually just sort of order them around, and it became, for the people who didn't know what they were doing, a follow orders game, which it is certainly not, because if you know what you're doing, you don't need someone to tell you what to do all the time.
Well, at the same time, actually, like when I first played NS and I was bad at it, what I liked more than anything was the fact that I was given orders to follow, because it's kind of like when you play TIE Fighter. You like in a game where you get unambiguous orders and following them is a good thing.
Yep.
You feel good when you don't know what to do and you don't understand anything, and this voice from above gives you a welder and says, "Go weld that thing. These 2 guys will protect you while you do it."
Yeah, but you have to learn how to follow. You got to do the boot camp before you do the
yeah, I mean, if someone's yelling, "Go to the,"
imagine if I didn't send you to boot camp in the real military, I just sent you straight to Iraq, and then they started telling you what to do. You're like, "Oh God, oh God, it sucks. This is the worst thing ever."
So if you want to play some NS with us, sadly, I don't know how much I'll be playing until, I don't know, September.
No, I'm not probably going to be playing much until September either. I mean, starting now, I really got, shit to do.
Yeah, con season is
fast
approaching.
I pretty much used up my last gasp to play NS.
Yeah, but come this winter, we're going to be playing some NS. So if you want to get your groove on ahead of time, head over to Guns for Back to School, the best little NS server in the world.
Yeah, there's that server, Guns for Back to School.
That is
the server I play on the most. If I can get in, it's always full.
That server was awesome when we first found out about NS back at RIT, and it has been awesome continuously until this day.
Those people also run TF2 servers for you people who still play TF2, even though it's no good.
Oh, God, TF2.
Yeah, but Guns for Back to School is good people. They have pretty much the best FPS servers there are.
I think NS has some of the best FPS community there is.
Well, that's the other thing. You play NS, right? It's a complicated game. It's not easy to understand if you're not, hardcore. There's a lot of things to learn. It doesn't have the best user interface. But because it's such an old game, there's not a lot of new players. Everyone in there is really experienced, and everyone in there actually cares about the game, and it's a serious game, and you're not going to find a lot of schmucks, going, like in Counter-Strike, where it's just like, owns your mom, you suck, faggot, Osama bin Laden, you die, fuck you. That shit doesn't happen so much.
Instead, you get a lot of, just all the we've talked about
it's not
NS
super
before.
Mature, but people are in there actually playing the game somewhat seriously.
Not only that, it's more that when you know you've lost or won, a lot of times funny things just start happening.
Well, it's because there's a certain etiquette to playing NS that is separate from the how to win of NS. And it's sort of like I remember in the early days of natural selection when the people were losing and it was pretty much a foregone conclusion that you were going to lose. You would push F4 to go to the ready room. And the game would be over. Now that you don't do that anymore. That's a faux pas if you push F4 to go to the ready room. In fact, many servers won't let you. Instead, when you're done, pretty much what you do is you recycle everything and you hide. And you try to survive for as long as you can, just hiding. And it's,
I've had some good times being a gorge with 3 defense towers, hiding an event somewhere for 10 minutes.
And the reason, that might sound really stupid. Like, you've already lost. Why not just go die and end it quickly, right? But no, hiding is something, it's like, It's something you must do. It's sort of like those people in, as much as I hated them, even though they were doing the same thing, when we were playing that Jedi Knight 2 and people would have the duels, they would always bow. And I would just stab them and win.
Well, that was part of the etiquette too.
Yeah, and the thing is like, for some reason, I didn't like that Jedi Knight etiquette. I just stabbed people. But in NS, the etiquette of hiding at the end and, doing a victory egg and stuff like that there was something about that was, I don't know, I like better.
Yeah, but this isn't a show about NS. We've done at least one show about NS.
We also did a show on Battletech, which we were going to do a show on today. Then I was like, oh shit, we did a show on
I was
that.
excited about that. I feel like we should just do a Battletech show again. I might say different things.
I don't know. I had to listen to the old Battletech show.
I guess I hope I mentioned that Scott always makes very ineffectual mechs that are covered in nothing but small lasers.
I think you did mention that in the original Battletech
I mention
show.
that like every day.
Yes. Just one side note here, really quick. There were some rules of the World of Warcraft miniatures game on their website.
Oh.
Yeah.
These are the rules that they would not tell us about when we were press at the New York Comic Con.
I looked at the rules. Not so. Not so.
Well, considering
you can take a look and judge for yourself, but the rules that I've seen, not so.
When we walked up with our little press badges, all they could tell us was, look how shiny these miniatures are. Look how realistic they are.
They
Look
were
at them.
shiny.
Look at these. These are high
It's sort of like there's
quality.
that Pokemon miniatures game that has the really good Pokemon miniatures, and like if I could get like a Spiritomb out of there, I totally would. But if I liked World of Warcraft and I wanted to have some World of Warcraft creatures, I would buy some individual minis. But I don't have a lot of confidence in this game.
But anyway, some of you might be thinking that we're about to talk about E3, but no, there's nothing to say about E3. It was pretty lame. Nothing important was announced, and that's the end.
Yeah, I'm not even going to do news on E3 because it was so blah. I already talked about the Netflix Xbox, the last week. So.
Yeah, and people are making a buzz about all the lame stuff that happened at the Nintendo panel, but
is what I say also.
But I do want to talk about the fact that, there's always more Castlevania games coming. It's kind of like at any given point, there's another Castlevania game coming. But the two Castlevania games that have been announced, and there are clips for them I'll link to. One of them looks like more of the same, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And the other one looks really, really, really bad. And I don't know why. Why would they do this?
I'm not really understanding what's been going on with the Castlevania like license in general.
Because Castlevania actually really illustrates something that we're going to talk about in Scott's bit, the real news Scott's going to bring up. Because Castlevania really started floundering when it entered the 3D console world.
I know they had this formula of 2D side-scrolling whipping game, right? And in Castlevania 2, they added some weird shit that didn't go over that well.
That was awesome.
Except for Rim, who's the only person who loved it.
Hey, fuck you. Castlevania 2 was the best NES Castlevania.
I guess it might have had the best music.
Castlevania 3 was the second best.
No, first of all, Castlevania, well, everyone knows that PlayStation one, even though everyone considers the PlayStation one with the Symphony of the Night, right? To be like the best one is the one I haven't played. I've played all the other side-scrolling Castlevanias. I haven't played the GBA ones, but...
Of course, honestly, Symphony of the Night was a special case in that it was this confluence of... for one... The music in that game, that soundtrack, was something that was unheard of in gaming at the time. Two, in the era when suddenly 2D games disappeared and everything was 3D bullshit, someone made a good 2D game. A really good 2D game.
Yep.
Which was the thing everyone had always been saying, why don't you just make an awesome 2D game?
I know, it's people, they have a game and it's in a particular genre, and then they have this need to take that game license and put it in other things, right? And I guess it works for Mario, but it doesn't really work for almost anything else.
How long were people clamoring for a new 2D Mario?
I know, right? We finally got one, and it was okay, but it was a little easy and a little quick.
Yeah, I was about to say a little easy, a little quick. Yeah.
Actually, I was well on my way to getting all the big coins in that game.
So was I.
Super Mario.
And then I realized I didn't care.
I also stopped caring around World 4.
Yeah, the annoying part was not that the coins were kind of hard to get all of them, but the fact that I beat the entire game pretty much without trying and without really dying.
Yeah.
As opposed to Mario 3 where I can't even beat that game half the time, let alone get all the
I
stuff.
can pretty much get to the final world all the time, but it's pretty much a matter of will I run out of stuff before I beat the final castle? Because there are a few levels in the final world that I'm not so good at, and the flying ships one, sometimes I'll die a few times, and I mean, I'll have plenty of lives, but if I don't have any goodies left in my goodie bin and I'm at the final castle, what the fuck am I gonna do? I can't beat it. I can't beat it when I'm small. I'm not that good.
The final castle actually is pretty easy compared to everything else.
The thing is, because of the way I play Mario 3, I've played the early levels a whole bunch and the late levels almost none. So I can beat the final castle, and I know it, but I don't know it perfectly. So, it's sort of like, and you do the final castle. I've played that level fewer times than any other level in the game, except for maybe some World 6 and 7 levels. But
anyway,
yeah.
The other confluence was that they took this 2D game and they added this kind of, the weapon, the way the game worked, they added the perfect measure for that kind of person, the kind of person who would be drawn into that, to make it this just epically legendary game that is loved to this day by gamers of all stripes.
Yep.
So, anyway, Castlevania Judgment for the Wii is, as far as I can tell, a mediocre 3D fighting game.
Yeah, I don't know who thought of this. Like, hey, we need a Castlevania for the Wii. I know, let's make a fighting game. What?
In fact,
why not just make a side scroller with a whip?
It looks a lot like Castlevania 64.
Yeah, well, Castlevania 64, Trim didn't even really know existed. I just showed it to him.
Because pretty much when the
and
N64
how terrible it was
announced was when I was already a PC gamer and just gave up on consoles.
See, people always forget, they remember Superman 64 because it has legendary terribleness, but Castlevania 64 and Shadowgate 64 are also legendarily terrible. Is legendarily a word? Yes, it is.
Now. Never
perfectly cromulent.
Forget. But I have nothing more to say about it. It looks terrible.
Yep.
But then, Castlevania Order of Ecclesia.
All right.
Ecclesiastica, doesn't matter. It's basically
Testicles.
more of the same. It is just more side-scrolling Castlevania. The doors
just
to
like
the bosses.
all the other DS and GBA games.
Now, my only worry is that if I were to rank the modern side-scrolling Castlevanias, it would pretty much be DS, Symphony of the Night, Portrait of Ruin, in that order. And a lot of people are going to hate me for that, but I think DS was a better game.
Well, you didn't play
overall.
all the GBA ones, but I think the GBA ones, from what I can tell, I don't know for sure because I didn't play them, but I think there's 3 of them, and I think they were just like, the DS one, except, of course, no dual screen action. But they were the same kind of gameplay, only less because it was a GBA.
But my problem is that DS was really good, and Portrait of Ruin wasn't quite as good. I didn't really like it nearly as much.
I didn't like it nearly as much either, because it wasn't as big a game. It didn't feel as epic and large, and it didn't really have the same sort of stuff going on, and that dual character thing was just sort of annoying. It wasn't cool.
Of course, it kind of made up for that by having the awesome bonus playthrough modes.
Yeah, it did. Castlevania 1 had the DS had Belmont mode, right?
Well, it had Julius mode.
Right, Julius mode, but
this one had the armor mode, and it had the vampire mode, and all. It was awesome.
Yeah, those are good. The thing is, with that kind of game, I don't feel like playing it again, even with a different mode. It's got, I don't know what it is.
See, I kind of did, but the problem is it wasn't as good as DS. So if this third one isn't as good as if it isn't better than Portrait of Ruin, I see the trend and I'm bowing out of these games forever.
Well, I think what you could do is you would go and try to find that GBA cartridge that has the first two GBA ones on it, because that's a super bargain. And then if those are good, get the third GBA.
Or I'll just play DS and Symphony of the Night again.
But
yeah.
But anyway. So, speaking of people taking old genres and then old games and trying to mess them up, Capcom has finally done the opposite, and I hope they start a trend for the future here. You probably all know this, but Mega Man 9. Yeah, not Mega Man X9, not Mega Man, Battle Network 9.
Not Mega Man 9 3D.
No, not Mega Man Legends 2 or 3. Mega Man 9, as in...
There was no Mega Man Legends 1.
For anyone who doesn't know, there were 6 Mega Man games for the NES. There was 1 for the Super Nintendo, which is Mega Man 7. And there's 1 for the PlayStation, which is Mega Man 8. And the one for the SNES and the one for PlayStation actually got fancier than the originals. 1 through 6 were all the same kind of game. They all looked the same.
Well, pretty much. I would say this: 2 through 6 are almost exactly the same.
Yeah,
except for sliding and stuff.
One's a little wonky.
You know what? 1 is hard as balls. I've never beaten it.
I've beaten 1, but it was really hard, especially the yellow blob guy. 3 added the slide, and 4 or 5 added the charge regular gun. But they were pretty much the same game. Then Mega Man 7 was a little different. It was mostly the same gameplay, but it was updated. It was not totally the same. It was a lot more like Mega Man X in the way it controlled and such. And then Mega Man 8 was just a PlayStation monstrosity with this horrible anime at the front of it. Good God. But Mega Man 9 for Wii, 360, and PlayStation, and it's gonna be a download game. It's gonna be just like Mega Man 1 through 6, only new and hard.
This is fascinating because this is the kind of thing, like I kind of hinted at earlier. Gamers, pretty much when the N64 came out and all these games were different, I remember there was this giant outcry, even back then, for someone to just make one of the old 2D games, make The Legend of Zelda, or make Final Fantasy or something, with the memory and the power of the Nintendo 64.
That's something I always said was like, hey, all right, everyone's gone to making these 3D games, and I think the reason they went to 3D and shied away from 2D is because systems like the Neo Geo, the TurboGrafx, the Atari Jaguar especially, when they made 2D games...
64 bits!
They made really big, fancy 2D games, but people weren't into them. They went for the 3D games, and 3D games sold, so people stayed with 3D. And 2D games really only did well on the handhelds where they were necessary. But even now, we're getting 3D games on the handhelds, too. But I always said, hey, if you have such a powerful machine, right, with so much memory, why don't you just make Super Metroid a game on exactly the same as Super Metroid in terms of the way it plays? A side-scrolling, explore, Planet Zeebs, Metroid, your Samus turned into a ball game. But just make the map like 5 times as big with like 5 times as many bosses and 5 times as many secrets. And
now, granted,
awesome?
there are reasons. I mean, one argument is that it does take a long time to develop that sort of thing.
Well, it doesn't take a lot of time to develop the technology. It takes a lot of time to make all those maps, because whether it's 2D or 3D, you have to lay out the maps, and that's a human job that takes a long time to get to test them and the whole...
But at the same time, 2D games require far less playtesting than 3D games.
That is definitely true. It also costs a lot less money. Now, it looks like Mega Man 9 is going to be the same size in terms of, how big the levels are compared to...
That's fine, because being older and wiser, I realized that all right, so Final Fantasy IV was 40 hours long. I don't need to play Final Fantasy IV for 140 hours.
No, not a Final Fantasy game, that's for sure. But a Mega Man game with 18 Robot Masters, I would not be disappointed.
Nah, I don't know. See,
16 Robot Masters?
In that case, I think you'd have to add something more. Maybe, here's my vision.
Well, you'd have so many different weapons, and the levels would be larger and actually require you to use the different weapons.
Well, no, my vision would be a co-op 2D game.
So Mega Man 0?
Except not shitty. I just imagine if Mega Man 9 could also add a co-op mode.
That would be all right.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things you could do with it, but generally the idea is that there's a strong feeling, at least within me, and I hope within many other people, that all we want is direct. I mean, we want, a lot of games now are sequels of old games, but just make them like the old games, only different. I mean, there's nothing... People always, game reviewers especially, would say, oh, this game doesn't innovate. What? You don't always need to innovate. I mean, if you just took Super Metroid and made new levels, even if it wasn't any bigger than Super Metroid, it was just more Super Metroid, Super Metroid is great.
I mean,
what's wrong with more Super Metroid? If I go to a guy ice cream, if I like strawberry ice cream, I might get strawberry ice cream again next time. It's not any different than last time, but it's still good. I can still eat more of it.
Well, there's also the idea of incremental improvements. I mean, look at Warcraft, Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3, or Command and Conquer, Command and Conquer 2. They took a game, it worked, but technology got better, and, they learned more about game design, and they said, all right, let's make that game, but fix the things we know are wrong with it.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Castlevania. Look, Castlevania, the DS ones, are not really that much of a departure from Castlevania 1. It's a side-scrolling whipping game at heart, and there's some extra stuff added on there, mostly technological niceties, and it's still great. And, trying to go away from that, trying to make Castlevania 64, results in badness.
See, I think the problem is a lot of game designers and a lot of game buyers who aren't, I guess, I don't want to use the term like hardcore,
savvy?
But people who are fans of games more so than just playing them, but people who care about them and think about it, to where gaming is not a distraction, but it's actually a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
When there's a new game, it seems like people who aren't like that, or will look at it and say, all right, this new game has made previous games obsolete. I've made a new genre. I've made a 3D punching game. So 2D punching games are obsolete. And when I make a 4D punching game, 3D punching games are obsolete.
Yeah, why not make a Punch-Out with just, 20 different guys to punch? That's the same as the NES Punch-Out.
Or, well, we've got 3D. 2D side-scrollers are obsolete. That's like saying, well, we've got the TV, so radio is now obsolete.
Right.
Granted, a lot of people are saying that. That's why podcasting is still struggling so much. But it's much like how 2D games can coexist and have a place because they are a kind of game among 3D games. Radio has a place among video because you can't always watch something while you're doing something.
I mean, there are people out there who are modifying game ROMs. Those people they made the Zelda 1 game that wasn't set with all new maps.
Oh, Zelda C?
Yeah, it was stupid hard.
Hard as balls.
There's some guys who are making Metroid 2, but they're making it on the Super Metroid engine. There are those people who make those Mario World levels, the super hard Mario 1 levels. There is a big... the reason that those things are so popular, but they're not stupidly popular, but this is because they're very inaccessible. If one of the big game companies actually made that sort of activity accessible, I think it would really explode. And Mega Man 9, I think when you're going to see how high its sales are, will demonstrate that.
But I got to stress again, this game is not going to be the Mario remake where it was easy as crap.
No, this is going to be...
Mega Man 9 is very hard.
It's just as hard as all the other Mega Mans.
We didn't want to do Mega Man, but easy. We want players to get better, and we want them to remember. I've always tried to challenge players, and I think there are gamers who miss being challenged by games.
Yes, there are. Hello, I'm here.
I'm so looking forward to this. I wasn't even a huge fan of Mega Man games.
I thought you hated Mega Man.
I respect Mega Man games for being good. I enjoyed them and played them, but that kind of game is not my bag. Just like
it's not really any different from Castlevania, except for the shooting instead of whipping.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
Not much.
Mainly of course, I point out that some people don't get it, and because the thing I really didn't like was the basic gun that Mega Man had and the way the game played before you had other things I didn't really like. But quote some guy who doesn't know anything. Of course, Mega Man 9 is hard. I just wish they made it hard using something like enemy routes or bullet hells to get you in a tough situation instead of just gimping the controls to a shoot forward position.
Okay.
Yeah. I got to say one more thing. I'm just going to bring this up real quick. The news, everyone seems to be losing their shit about the fact that there's going to be achievements in World of Warcraft. And
World of Warcraft is nothing but achievements. What difference does it make if they put a label on them?
But people posted in our forum pointing out, hey, oh my god, achievements in World of Warcraft. Yeah, we knew about this a month ago. Next.
Yeah, I mean, and seriously, what difference does it make? You play World of Warcraft now, you go on a quest, you beat the quest, they give you a loot for your quest going, right? Now you're going to go on the quest, and it's going to say, congratulations, you beat a quest, and it'll give you a little badge, a little sticker that you can wear on your on your merit badge sleeve thingy that you wear.
If you completed 50 quests,
merit badges.
You now have the complete 50 quests quest, or the max distance fallen without dying quest.
I
feel more and more like this is... I mean, I'm not saying WoW is dead or Blizzard is dead because that's just so far from the truth.
I just say, why is it news? The game has not changed in any way. The only difference is that they're giving out merit badges.
Well, here's the thing. The game, what is happening is that, EverQuest was the unassailable god back in the day. And people... Not
that much, but...
No, compared to every other MMO.
Yeah, because that's like saying, captain of the second string football team.
Yeah, but there were different eras. There were different MMOs that were kind of the king. And eventually...
Valedictorian of the
World of Warcraft is going to fall. Eventually, World of Warcraft is not going to be the thing, and some other game is going to make enough incremental improvements to destroy the World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft 2.
No.
Universe of Warcraft.
I've actually got... There's a couple of
World of
candidates
Starcraft
on the horizon that we'll talk about later. But Diablo 3...
Diablo 3 is not the same genre of game.
I believe it is in the click-on things genre.
Well, that is true. However, there's actually... Diablo, I would say, is actually a worse game than World of Warcraft, if such a thing is possible.
But I feel as though they're adding this only in reaction to certain other games that might be doing this. They're trying to prevent the small wound that they currently have from becoming infected and causing their gangrenous leg to fall off.
Anyway, I don't think you have to worry about them dying anytime soon.
I don't know. I give him 3 or 4 years. It's time for things of the day.
Do, 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 do.
Okay.
Do, 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 do.
Viga posted this in our forum, and this is so utterly adorable that I can't help but make it a thing of the day. It's just a cute little animation of Cloud, and it's got
Final
this kind
Fantasy
of...
VII Cloud.
Yes.
Not Locky too.
And it's got this kind of really, really cute beatbox going on, and it's got this really, really cute song. And it's really, really, really cute.
I mean, there are some other videos that were like related on YouTube that were sort of the same thing, but they weren't as good as this one. This is the only good one.
This one is just so utterly cute. I don't know what I can say.
Yep. All right, my thing of the day, you've probably seen this all over the internet. It's pretty much been everywhere, but it's actually pretty cool. People have lately, because JavaScript technology is getting so much better, and Firefox, and a guy I went to school at RIT with who I'm actually sad when I found out he didn't graduate, is like a big JavaScript evangelist at Mozilla, and there's all sorts of stuff going on. Some guy found out it was actually possible to make a game that would play in JavaScript, but it would only be displayed in the fave icon. He just kept changing the fave icon, so you can now play Defender in the fave icon. And so, you know, when you visit a web page, like you visit Google and there's a blue G just up next to the URL that lets you know you're at Google. Well, now you can, Defender plays up there in that little square if you go to this website.
So you're just on the website and you just, WASD around and hit N and you're playing Defender.
I mean, it's not good Defender, but I mean, it's pretty much Defender. I mean, you can't teleport, but you can go left, you can go right, you can shoot the aliens. The aliens come down, grab the humans and try to fly away. You try to rescue the humans. That's Defender. I don't know what else to call it.
Oh, we almost forgot to talk about this. I have to bring this up before we get into the main bit. So, Sonic Unleashed, they're making a Sonic game.
Okay, yeah.
Despite the fact that, they got to take old games and just remake them. When we saw the gameplay footage from this game, it is basically they have made Sonic the Hedgehog exactly what it always should have been, but they were only limited by technology. It is just Sonic the Hedgehog running, and it's awesome.
I mean, if you watch the gameplay footage video on game trailers or whatever of this game, you go, okay, there you have an example of how you can take a game, keep what makes the game good at its core fully intact and even improve upon it, while also updating the graphics and the technology and the sound and the controls and everything else. It looked like a Sonic game, unlike, some of the other games recently, like Sonic Adventure and other shit like that. This was a Sonic game through and through, even though the technology was, crazy advanced and like totally modern.
It gives me this very parkour feel.
Yeah, so I saw that and I was like, I'm buying that game. Thank God it's for the Wii.
So the news is not that the Sonic game is coming or that it looked completely, utterly, amazingly, oh my God, awesome. The news is that, in fact, it is only 50% awesome. You see, by day, Sonic the Hedgehog is running parkour, Yamakaze, whatever you want to call it, through the city. By night, it's final fight. It's lumbering, stretchy werewolf final fight.
Oh, way to steal Kotaku's description there.
But that's exactly what it is. You might think, what do you mean stretchy werewolf? Look at this picture.
Yeah, the story apparently is, in this game, the game starts where Dr. Robotnik, I guess, whatever you want to call him. I call him Dr. Robotnik. You can call him Egg, whatever you want to call him. I don't give a shit.
If you're wrong.
Yeah, Dr. Robotnik is the guy's name. There's only one guy. Sonic people, shove it. He comes and he throws a Chaos Emerald at Sonic. Sonic turns into like some sort of were Sonic, sort of like a were hedgehog.
But he's already a hedgehog. If you're already a hedgehog, you can't be a were hedgehog.
A lycanthrope of some variety.
That makes you a double hedgehog.
There you go. So at night, he turns into like this slow, evil, horrible beast that fights and punches and kicks and slashes. But during the day, he's Sonic the Hedgehog doing his awesomeness.
Except it doesn't look like he fights. It looks like he just stretches.
This is definitely a case of tried to do too much with it.
Tried to do too much
You
with
should have
it.
just kept the awesome Sonic daytime action and just done like 20 levels of that. You would have had a hit, a super runaway hit, A+, perfect game. First Sonic game I would have bought since like the 16-bit era. But instead, maybe I'll rent it, discount bin something just to play the daytime parts.
Because we know the daytime parts are excellent. Even just seeing it, there's nothing.
Maybe
they
I should
could do.
hire some kid to beat the nighttime parts for me, and I'll play all the daytime parts.
There is nothing they could do, as far as I can see, to ruin the daytime part. Based on what little I have seen, it is epic.
Someone should release a hacks daytime only Sonic Unleashed.
Kind of like the Phantom Edit.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I can't believe we haven't actually talked about this.
I don't know, have we? We might have messed up.
All right, well, you can introduce, and I'll double check.
All right, because we did a show on BattleTech, and we were going to do a show on BattleTech, and we realized, oops, we did one already. And then we thought, hey, let's do the show Natural Selection. Oops, we did one already. There was none to do the show on. They said, hey, news about Mega Man 9, pretty big. Why don't we do a show on Mega Man?
Guess what we've never done a show on?
Mega Man?
Mega Man.
That's good. Because Mega Man 2 is the best video game of all time.
I
don't care what you say.
Playing this port of Mega Man on the computer in the back of my 5th grade elementary school.
A port of So what was that like, a port of Mega Man?
I don't know. It was Mega Man on the PC.
Really? I played Mega Man X, the official DOS version. It was a Capcom sold it in CompUSA on a CD-ROM, and it came with the 6-button controller that you could also use for Street Fighter on your computer, which I have Street Fighter 2 Turbo for the computer. I still have it.
Championship Edition?
No, it's Street Fighter 2. It's Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. That's what it is. It comes after Championship Edition. It has the 4 extra people, and Akuma and the whole thing. But anyway, Mega Man. Mega Man, when I was a kid, right, I wanted an NES for a long time, as every kid did. And I got one like a year or so later than some of the other kids, maybe 2 years later, because waiting for the birthday to come around and the whole bit, and parents being cheap and stuff like that. But it was okay. I got it in time. I was all cool. But
see, I didn't get Mega Man 1. I got Mega Man 2.
Oh, I'm finishing my story.
Okay.
I also got Mega Man 2.
Okay.
Because my birthday, they gave me, the NES and the Mario. I think my birthday was like on a Monday or something. I forget what the situation was, but like people were over maybe the day before. So they gave me the NES and the Mario Duck Hunt on that day. But then the next morning, it was like, okay, you can have the Mega Man 2 now. Oh, and Mega Man 2... Not only did I play the hell out of that game, and it wasn't like now where it's like I know the password to just go to the end, or I can just look up and see what order to fight the guys in.
Granted, it's kind of obvious. Metal Man beats Woodman.
Well, I know, but Heatman actually beats Woodman even better.
Yeah, well,
but,
Metal Man beats everything. Metal Man's the best man.
I remember a day when I couldn't beat Airman, even though Airman was supposed to be easiest level because I couldn't deal with the jumping parts or the platforming. I wasn't that good yet because this is the first time I ever had an NES. It took me a long time to beat that game, but I remember one morning before Saturday morning cartoons, I got to the end, and that alien came up, and it was just like, oh shit, and oh man, that was good. And then I tried every item until eventually I figured out to use the bubble, and I beat that alien, and it was crazy. It was like if people have spiritual video game experiences, that was it.
Yes,
now beating
Mega Man 2 is to Scott what Bionic Commando is to me.
But now beating Mega Man 2 is sort of like a reflex now. I can just do it. But in those days, it was, when that dragon shows up and you're a little kid, and you see that gigantic dragon just come out of the darkness behind you. Holy shit. That's because the whole game has just been sort of, little bad guys. You know how to deal with robot masters. You know how to use your items, But when you see that dragon appear and it's that huge, and we see that big tank appear in the next level, and like that gigantic tall chasm that you fall down into the abyss with instant kill spikes lining all of the walls, or in Quickman's level where you have to fall through the incredibly fast-moving instant kill lasers.
That level, more than anything in most video games I've ever played, there's a certain feeling you get, this very specific feeling. Old school gamers are much more familiar with this than a lot of new school games. Don't quite give you this visceral fear of if you screw up at all, you're going to die. This level of tension that gets to the point that when you finally make it or when you finally die, you're gripping the controller so hard that you might have broken it.
That's the one thing I think that sets Mega Man apart from some of the other platformers, like, say, the Castlevanias and the Marios, is that you have these situations where, you are pretty much incredibly close to instant death, and they give you this margin of safety that you can get through. I mean, you don't have to be 100% precise to beat Quickman's area.
But you have to be 90% precise.
Yeah, you got to be and you go there, you die a few times, but then when it is possible to get through, it's not so hard that you're just frustrated and want to kill yourself. But then again, it's not so easy that you can just do it with nothing. So when you actually succeed, and you will if you persist, it feels really, really, really good. Of course, if you already know how to do it and you can do it every time, it feels a little bit less good, but it's good nonetheless.
My strategy, I'd always actually beat him first without any items.
That's a good way to go. The other thing is that the game, gives you a lot of options. I mean, it's like you can use Flashman to pause Quickman's instant kill lasers in his level to get through more easily. And that's a valid move, except if you have the Flashman weapon, the Flash pause, whatever it's called, if you use that on Quickman himself, you can drain half of his life bar without taking any damage yourself. So if you can get through the lasers without getting hit, you're much better off by saving that move for Quickman himself.
So what is it about these Mega Man games? I mean, I don't think we need to explain what a Mega Man game is or how they're put together.
Well, I can talk a little about the different Mega Man games there are. There's the original Mega Man series, which is a much simpler side-scrolling series. I talked about that in the news.
Pretty much every year. I mean, in the U.S., it was 87, 89, 90, 92, 92, 94, 95.
The Mega Man X was a more technologically advanced game, and it's not Mega Man 10. Anyone who says that is stupid. You know what the hell you're talking about.
Well, now there will be a Mega Man 10.
Mega Man X is basically like, okay, we have the Super Nintendo now, all right? Let's make a Mega Man game that is, set in the future, is actually a different character. He's the Mega Man of the future, right? Dr. Light is dead. It's past the end of the world now, but it's the same universe. And this is the robot that Dr. Light made and was in hibernation and then woke up. And he's sort of like Mega Man, and it's the same kind of game, pick the levels, go in, fight the robot masters, get to the boss. But the bad guy is not Dr. Wily. It's like Sigma or whatever. And there's a lot more to it. You can re-enter levels that you've already beaten to go and get items you may have left behind. And in addition to the weapons you get from beating the robot masters, there are like 5 power-ups. Like you need Mega Man X's better helmet, his better body armor, his better gloves, his better shoes, his better pants, the whole thing. And they give you even more different abilities. And it basically does what Super Metroid is to regular Metroid. It just adds a lot more stuff to it. It's not too much, but it's not so little that it does nothing either.
See, I'll admit though, I mean, I enjoy playing a Mega Man game. I can't stand the Mega Man X games.
Well, I think what it is the Mega Man...
They're a different style of gameplay.
Yeah, Mega Man X1 is good stuff, but as it goes on, when you get to like Mega Man X3, 4, 5, it gets to be sort of annoying, a little cluttered, a little messy. It's not the smooth experience of one of the original Mega Man games, and it doesn't have the charm that, Mega Man X and Mega Man 1, 2, 3 had. There's something missing there. I think that's another great thing about all the Mega Man games. They sort of keep that, especially when you're a kid and when games still had a mystique to them of surprise and not knowing what lies beyond. I mean, I talked about the dragon appearing from the darkness. Well, how about in Mega Man 2? You get to the end, they make you fight all the robot masters again, ghosts of them. I mean, that doesn't seem like a big deal, but it was like, whoa, totally crazy. And then that's like a skull in the final level. And then another skull appears. It's the real final level. It's like, oh my god.
Because think about that. That's kind of a cliche in a lot of games today. The square boss, or the sort of first you beat the boss, and then there's another. But back then, that shit didn't happen.
No, it shit didn't happen at all.
When it happened, as a kid, when that happened, when I saw that, I remember, I dropped the controller, I started yelling for my brother, and he comes, and I'm like, he's like, what? And I'm like, look. He's like, what? I'm like, There's another level.
There's another skull. Or Mega Man 3, right? You beat all the robot masters, and then these 4 new levels appear, and each level has 2 of these clone robot thingies that actually take the place of robot masters from Mega Man 2. So it's like you're playing Mega Man 3, and all of a sudden, Bubble Man shows up, and you're like, oh fuck, it's Bubble Man. Oh my god.
I know how dangerous that bubble is.
Well, Bubble Man's not too hard, but seeing Bubble Man in Mega Man 3 is like, oh shit. And it had a lot of those oh shits that other games really didn't have. I mean, you didn't play Castlevania 4 and say, oh shit, there's something for Castlevania 1. You didn't even play, like, SNES Zelda and say, oh shit, it's Dig Dogger. Oh shit, because Dig Dogger wasn't in there. It didn't have that, bring it back action that Mega Man had.
My fondest memories are actually from Mega Man 3, partly because I rented it and I wanted to buy it. My parents wouldn't buy it for me.
I had Mega Man 3. The only ones I owned were actually 2 and 3. I played 4, 5, and 6 emulated. I played 1 emulated. But now I have actually all of them on that Game Boy disc. GameCube disc. I actually have the other GameCube disc that has all the Mega Man X's. So I have every Mega Man.
So this kid in my neighborhood decided that he didn't want Mega Man 3 anymore. So he wondered if I wanted to trade him a game for him.
What were you going to trade him?
Well,
Poop on a stick?
I traded him. One thing led to another, and I traded him Hide Lied.
Oh, Hide Lied, the game that's great on paper, bad in reality.
I'll tell you, the long story short is that his mom came over, and we ended up being forced to give Mega Man 3 back.
Oh.
Which was fine, because it turned out he'd actually stolen Mega Man 3 from some other kid. Yeah.
Mega Man 3 actually had this bug in it where...
it had an awesome bug.
The second player could hold button downs on their controller.
I think you hold left.
You had to hold something, select, I don't remember.
No, it was left. And then what would happen is, if you fell into a pit, you died, but not immediately.
Well, you died. It went but you weren't dead.
No, in the game code, you didn't die immediately. Like, it did the do, but the game code for end the level start over didn't kick in right away.
Right. You had 0 health, and you were dead, but you were still alive. You could walk around. You could also jump stupidly high for some reason.
Well, no, it was a lot more complicated than that. So one, if you jump in, you're holding it, and you jump into the pit, you don't even go do. You just can stand in there and kind of jump back out. But then if you let go, you die. And if you get the timing right, where you die and you have no life, but then you jump out, the music stops.
Yep.
Everything gets all weird. And then as long as left's being held down, you can jump super high, but you can't shoot. So usually you wanted to go...
I thought you could shoot. I don't remember.
No, you couldn't.
Uh-huh.
So usually if you wanted to play around with this, you had to go be Needleman first. That way you could use his needle gun, basically like your normal weapon. So you could still go around and break through things and do all your stuff.
And I used that a few times, playing around mostly with friends, but I haven't done it in so long. I don't really remember.
I played the game legitimately a lot of the time, but I used that bug a lot just to explore. You could do some weird shit.
You could, especially in some of those levels that had the Mega Man 2 bosses in them, because there was a huge part where it was just big, empty tracts of space. Mega Man 3 actually added Rush the Dog, which people thought was a big deal, and they were all crazy about it, but I was like... What's the difference? Mega Man 2 had the 1, 2, 3 items, and Rush is no different than the 1, 2, 3 items. It just looks like a dog. It doesn't make it any different. Proto Man's also the fucking bomb. That's something else. In Mega Man 3, they added Proto Man. I mean, you're going through a game, normal as everything, and then suddenly there's this weird whistling music, and this guy shows up, and you shoot him, and he goes away, and he doesn't die, and he just comes back every once in a while, and it's
start to wonder what his deal is.
Super mysterious. I love mysterious. People don't put mysterious, unexplained shit in games like that anymore. It's always sort of obvious and transparent, and it doesn't really evoke that feeling of curiosity or mysteriousness.
Or it's Kojima.
One time I was playing Mega Man 2, and there was a babysitter over. I was that young, right? And I was fighting Bubble Man, and I jump up, and I actually, there's the doors that go to the boss rooms. The door opened, and I left the boss room. It went tick, 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 tick.
It's always scary when that happens.
And
anything
I was like,
weird like that.
So I'm like, oh shit. I thought I found some amazing secret, right? So then I go back into the boss room. It goes tick, 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 tick. I'm in this boss room, and it looks mostly like Bubble Man's boss room, but it's not. There's like a ladder, and there's some platforms, but they're invisible, but I can walk on them, and I figured out the layout of the room by jumping around, climbing the ladders, trying to walk every which way. And it's sort of like this symmetrical room with 4 platforms on each side and 2 ladders, and I just played around in this room for like an hour thinking I had found some like amazing hidden secret. And I was like, oh my God. It was actually just...
We've said this a lot.
It was just a glitch in the system.
Yeah, but back in the day... just because of the nature of old games, gamers like us, I mean, nowadays, if you're playing Metal Gear 4 and it glitches, you just reboot, you reset it because the game's broken and you want to keep playing. But glitches back then, before they were demystified to the world and to gamers, were kind of this Mystery World.
Well, look at Metroid 1. I mean, come on.
Oh, God, I spent more time exploring Metroid 1 for weird stuff than I ever did trying to beat it. That's probably why I never actually beat it.
Yeah. I've beaten it, but, it's much more. Metroid 1, at least, is more fun to go looking for the hack. Super Metroid is for beating.
Yeah.
So is Metroid 2.
Mega Man 2 is probably the best one so far, though.
Yeah. I think the other thing I'd say about Mega Man 2 is that it just has this, charm to the styling of it. I mean, 20xdx, really good music, Woodman, Flashman. I mean, this is how
you're not talking about Bob and George.
Well, this is how a terrible comic can actually make, some funny ones because Mega Man is such a great source material.
But they weren't that funny.
Flashman is funny.
A Flashman joke is obvious.
It's Flashman wearing a trench coat. I mean, come on.
It
is obvious, but it's still funny.
See, it would be funny if it was Woodman and it's like who you dressed up as. He was like at a costume party, let's say, and Woodman is dressed up as Flashman because there's wood under there.
That's
Or
taking
you know
a
what's
little
better?
too far.
Not reading Bob and George because it was terrible.
Or Quick Man and not satisfying the ladies.
Oh yeah, because that was a clever joke. Where's your Airman joke? Where's your Gutsman joke?
Gutsman, he's got guts.
It's not a joke.
Gutsman.
That's not. Man, you know what? I got to say this. Talk about mystification. When I finally got a hold of Mega Man 1, like this was before Game Facts. I didn't even have an instruction book, and none of my friends owned it. So I remember I'm playing it, and I kept seeing Gutsman. And I knew from other Mega Mans, one other Mega Man from Mega Man 2, all right, when you beat a Robot Master, you get his power. I couldn't for the life of me imagine what Gutsman's power was.
Does he just throw rocks, I think?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
I was desperate. I constantly tried to, but I sucked so bad at that game, I never even saw Gutsman.
That's something about Mega Man 1, actually. It only has 6 Robot Masters, whereas Mega Man 2 has 8, and that's pretty much the limit.
They're
and
so hard.
They're stupid hard, and the levels that come after are even harder. Like where you have to fight that yellow guy with the giant eyeball. Oh, is he hard? It's like one of the hardest bosses ever.
I mean, you got to beat Cutman
Even
first.
if you have full weapons and full ammo and full health, that yellow guy who breaks into pieces is stupid hard.
Even though it's basically just a memorization game, memorizing it's the first step. The second step is doing it.
Well, a lot of Mega Man games in general are memorization, but you know what? It's not the kind of memorization in Ikaruga where you have to memorize the exact pattern to move. You memorize, it's pretty easy to memorize because they don't give you too much. And you don't have to memorize like this really precise thing. You just sort of have to remember in general, like, okay, this screen has instant death lasers, so I have to go to the bottom as quickly as possible, and I can't go for that tempting E-tank over there.
There's also a lot of, all right, there's a ton of different ways to get past any given normal enemy. And there's the normal enemies and then the slightly bigger enemies. They all have different patterns. And part of the game is, how do I get by this guy without taking a bunch of damage?
Like, look at Heatman's level, right? There's a part in Heatman's level where there's a gigantic pit, and there are blocks that appear and disappear, and you can jump and be really good with your jumping to get across, or you can use the number 2 item and drain your number 2 energy to use this sort of jet to get across. And it's totally up to you, but there are advantages and disadvantages to both.
Plus, instead of being an instant death game with the life meter, one of the things that was great was that you didn't have to do every part of a level or every part of a boss fight perfectly. The margin of error was big enough to keep the game really interesting, and then it gave that extra danger of every now and then there was a sudden death thing. And those things were real scary as a result.
But yeah, the music in Mega Man is probably some of the best music ever. I mean, even in some of the bad Mega Man games, like the ending music to Mega Man 5, that's one of the best ending songs there is. Mega Man 5, I like it because of his proto-manness, but it's not really the best Mega Man game, really, at all. But
2 and 3, I think, are definitely my favorites.
2 and 3 are definitely where it's at. That is the popular...
Maybe 9.
That is the popular conception, and it is not wrong.
The problem is, why can't 9 be on the DS?
That's a good question.
Because I play my DS more than anything else. It's the perfect game for the DS.
Yeah, I guess they just want to have it on the TV to make it, just like the olden days.
Which is fine, because I'm probably going to play the hell out of it.
I'm going to play the hell out of it for sure.
Actually, I have this terrible urge to play Mega Man 2 right now.
I'm going to be playing it. Let me just quickly go through some of the non-regular Mega Man games here.
What about Mega Man and Bass?
That's sort of like Mega Man 10-ish, kind of.
But it came after 8.
It's not, I know, but it's not... Mega Man X series. It's definitely the regular Mega Man series, but it's a little bit different. It's not Mega Man 9. This is Mega Man 9. Anyway,
What about Mega Man: The Wily Wars on the Sega Mega Drive?
the Sega Genesis Mega Man game is actually just Mega Man 1, 2, and 3 on a single cartridge with updated graphics.
Yep. As well as the Wily Tower minigame.
That's a bad game.
Now, it can't be as bad as Tingle's Tower and the Bucking Broncos within.
Bucking Broncos. There were Mega Man games for the Game Boy, right? You can actually get Mega Man 2 for the original Game Boy, but the way it worked is you played 4 Robot Masters, then 4 others instead of being able to choose from all 8 right away. And the levels were very simplified and not quite as good as the real Mega Man 2. But the Mega Man Game Boy games are good in their own right. But if you really want to play portable Mega Man...
Wow, they had a 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the Game Boy.
I know. You should get Mega Man 0 in that series for the GBA, which is supposed to be very old school. It's very Super Nintendo-y, very really hard kind of Mega Man. But maybe it's a little closer to Mega Man X than a regular Mega Man. But I've heard good things about them even though I never played them. Mega Man Legends was this abomination, terrible 3D RPG for the PlayStation, the N64, and such. Avoided at all costs. Some people like it. They're all fools.
Wait, is that the game where it starts, there's a fire, and you have to put the fire out?
I think that might be that game.
Because I remember way back...
It's a 3D Mega Man, but it doesn't look like Mega Man. It looks like this weird stick blue guy, and you have the camera behind Mega Man.
Yep. Way back, when the PS1 came out, I bought it not to play PS1 games. In fact, it was...
You bought it to play DDR. And
yes.
But you had that. I remember you had that game.
Yes, because basically I bought this PS1. I didn't own a single PlayStation game, and I had no intention of ever owning a single PlayStation game.
But we were at RIT.
Well, I was at home. It was the summer after our freshman year.
Oh.
So I bought it at Kmart because it was on sale for $100.
And you were working at Kmart.
Yeah, well, I was working construction at the Kmart, which was... That was an interesting summer, let me tell you what.
Using the intercom phone.
Knowing the intercom code at a Kmart and knowing that the intercom code is the same at every Kmart everywhere and knowing that nothing can be done to prevent you from doing something hilarious makes for a really fun summer.
It sure does.
But anyway, so I bought this thing and I bought it solely to put a 6-pin mod chip in it so I could play import DDR games. So I realized, all right, I've got this PS1. Does it work? And then my follow-on was, now that I put the mod chip in it, does it still work? So what I did is I went on WinMX and I just looked for any ISO of a PS1 game. And I found Mega Man something. I'm like, all right, fine. I download it. I put it in. That was like the worst game I've ever touched.
It's not. Oh, maybe you never touched some of the worst ones, but it's a really bad game. I played it. Actually, I had a friend who had a PlayStation 1 with the mod chip in the early days, way back. Like we're talking.
My
junior
dad
year of high
watched me
school.
play it, and he was like, "This is what you spent 2 hours soldering for? This looks like shit." And I was like, "Don't worry, this wasn't what I bought this for. I bought it for a stupid dancing game that you're going to make people fun of."
At the junior year of high school, he would go to Blockbuster, rent PlayStation games, copy them to CDRs, and then return them. So that's how I played Mega Man Legends.
That's actually how I got all my DDR games when I found out that importing a DDR game was like $80. So I signed up for Red Octane.
When Red Octane was still a game rental service.
Red Octane was just Netflix for games. So basically I put in my queue every single mix of DDR ever released in Japan for the PS1. Every week one would come, I'd rip it and mail it back the same day, and then I had all of them.
Yep. But let's see. There's also Mega Man Battle Network, which is sort of like this weird RPG-ish game they got going on that doesn't really have much to do with Mega Man, except it's sort of like has much to do with Mega Man.
Yes, Mega Man 1 was released on the IBM PC in 1990, and Mega Man 3 was released on the IBM PC in 1991.
How about that?
Yeah, because I had this memory, like I said earlier, and I was thinking about it, and I couldn't fathom where it came from.
Mega Man X was on there too. I had it.
Yeah, and Rockman Strategy, but only in China.
Yeah, so people don't realize this, I guess, that, you might know that in Japan, Mega Man is actually Rockman, but, I mean, it's Rockman. His sister, Roll. Proto Man's name is...
Is what?
I think it's actually still Proto Man. I forget.
I don't know.
I forget. But yeah, it's like everyone, it's like rock, roll, bass, treble. It's like this whole music, theme going on. And people don't seem to get that, there's sort of like a joke. There's all these Japanese puns in Mega Man. And sort of like, we sort of get a dynamic, what's it called? Dynamic equivalence going on with,
That's it.
with the Heat Man and the such like that, where it's still the same sort of joke. Where everyone is called Man, but those aren't their names. They also, people don't remember that I think Mega Man 4 was, people voted on what the Robot Masters were going to be.
Was it 4 or 5? Because I remember that contest in Nintendo Power, and I was so excited about it. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to win this. I forget what I submitted, but I submitted something really
See, the thing is, I don't know how that worked, right? Because wouldn't the Japanese decide who the Robot Masters were going to be?
I didn't know either. All I know is Nintendo Power showed a bunch of submissions, and they were the dumbest things. Oh my god.
Well, what kind of submissions did you see?
I don't even remember. I just remember they were so
the stuff
bad.
that was really in the game was pretty bad. I mean, Tomahawk Man. Seriously.
Oh man, I'm just looking at Mega Man 4, and Mega Man 4 has a scary cover in America. I guess I never saw it.
Well, that's the other thing, is that you look at the cover of, say, Mega Man 2, it frightened me as a kid. And I was like, that's not what Mega Man looks like. What's up with this? This is freaky. But it's sort of freaky in this way where you can't look away. Mega Man 1 is even scarier. Look at the cover of that shit.
Mega Man 5 looks okay, but Mega Man 4...
Go look at the box art of Mega Man 1 and Mega Man 2 in the United States. Good God.
Hey, compared to Mega Man 4, I don't know. Because I can deal with Mega Man 1, which I'm looking at right now. He's holding that gun really weird, and I don't like his biceps one bit.
It totally looks like a Logan Runs or Tron kind of thing.
Logan's run, you mean?
Yeah.
Not Logan. Logan didn't run more than
it's
once.
It's that kind of styling of, 70s, 80s sci-fi movie cover. But Mega Man 2 is even weirder.
It's pretty much every Mega Man cover up until 5 in America looked stupid and weird.
Oh, Mega Man 3 looked okay. But anyway, I guess we could talk about Mega Man all day.
No, look at his face. Look at Mega Man's face. That is not cool.
But anyway. Oh, that's fine. Mega Man 3's all right.
No.
Yeah, it is. But anyway, yeah, I don't know what else you can say about Mega Man. What's your favorite Robot Master?
I would have to be Quickman.
You think Quickman's your favorite?
He was the coolest. He looked the coolest. He had the coolest level. He had the best weapon.
The coolest might be Gemini or Magnet Man.
Yeah, Gemini Man had the best music.
But my favorite level would probably be like the music you were just singing there, I think, was Shadow Man.
I thought that was Gemini Man.
I don't remember.
It was Gemini Man.
It might be.
I'll bet you $1.
Maybe. What was Shadow Man then? I forget. But yeah, it's really tough. I like Bubble Man. He's way cool. His level's way cool, especially. Crash Man, I love he has 2 drills. That's pretty awesome.
I love Crash Man's weapon, even though it's not really that useful except for getting through things.
Yeah, well, and beating a boss or two. But
yeah, but it was so cool to use because it stuck to stuff.
Yeah, it was really good. 2 drills. I mean, 2 drills. Oh, yeah. Oh, Mega Man. Send your Mega Man comments to us.
Yeah,
and people have been joining the forums lately, so I just want to remind you, if you have Hotmail or whatever, you might not, when you join the forums, you might not get an email that says, most people, when you join the forums, there'll be an email that says, congratulations, you've joined the forums. If you have Hotmail, you might not get that email. But if you did not get the email, still pretend you got the email and just come sign into the forums.
Yes, it is very
using the
rare
name and password
that we deny anyone.
Yeah, I've been denying someone lately. They've been trying to use Bug Me Not to register. I've been denying that.
Yeah. And before we end, I will point this out again because we don't have, we're doing this sabbatical schedule for a while. But at PAX, the Penny Arcade Expo in Seattle, over Labor Day weekend, we're going to be there. We're going to be VIPs. We're doing a panel entitled Beyond Dungeons and Dragons. We're going to be talking about the Burning Wheel, the Inspectors, the Primetime Adventures.
All the indie RPG scene that most people do not respect or pay attention to. We're going to be letting it loose.
This is going to be, I think, one hell of a panel. So
I hope so.
And also, to all you West Coasters, you're finally going to get to meet us. Plus,
except for the people who live in, say, San Diego, but you're going to a convention right now, so what are you worried about?
Yeah, but at the same time, also, I'll point out that Scott and I are actually going to be in town for the entire day, pretty much, on Monday after the con.
Yep.
So if anyone's cool and you want to meet us, I thought
we were going to be there all day Thursday, but we're not because, the way the plane tickets worked out, but we'll be there pretty much Labor Day in Seattle for us, so anyone wants to hang out Labor Day in Seattle.
Yeah, we'll figure that out depending on how many of you respond, what we're going to do.
Yeah, we can go to maybe some geeky stores, see some Space Needles, eat food, that sort of thing.
But Saturday, August 30th, from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. in the Satellite Theater, room 307. And I want to say, This is a real good panel. You don't want to miss it.
Oh, also, what was I going to say?
Kineticon?
Kineticon. 2 weeks from now in Hartford, Connecticut.
Yes, Hartford,
Convention
Connecticut,
Center.
over the first weekend in August. So the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Yes, we're going to be there. We're mostly going to be doing mad panels on Saturday, but Friday and maybe Sunday and maybe Friday, we're going to be doing mad gaming. We're actually going to have other associates of ours doing gaming in the awesome, awesome gaming rooms there. So
even if you don't like anime or anime cons or webcomics or any of that, come to Kineticon. They have better gaming than most gaming cons.
yeah, the people who run the game room there are real great. There's a great selection of games. You can bring your own games. And
just come
we're
on
going to
by.
be running demos. We're going to be teaching people how to play games that they might not know how to play.
Just come on by to the Geeknights tables. You won't be able to miss them. There'll be at least one gigantic banner there.
Yep, and it'll be awesome times.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com, or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.